Looking at some of these successes, love to see folks speaking with executive leadership about the importance of fatherhood, prioritizing that in funding. That's, I think, a huge thing on folks' minds lately. So that's really exciting. Um, some more active participants, always love that. Dad's joining the policy council. We'll definitely talk about that a little bit today, I think. Recruiting additional facilitators, dads, just completing a class with someone who is a challenging participant. That's always exciting. Um, Challenge again, speaking with the executive leadership about funding. Yeah, definitely a challenge folks are going through, I think. Um, Engaging with partners, other folks working in a local coalition as a challenge, certainly. Some more dads being more active as a success. Oh, trying to figure out Medicaid and billing for the Nurturing Fathers program. Any folks have any experience with that? Connecting with Kaylee, I think would be appreciated. Uh, All right, thank you all for filling that out. And please do continue to fill that out and then take a look at it. Again, if there's things that someone put as a challenge and you have experience with, reach out. Um, Reach out if someone has a success that it's something you've been having challenges with. Use that sheet as a way to connect with other folks in here. All right. So I want to start with our objectives. So, of course, connecting with other practitioners across Colorado, um, sharing successes, challenges, and opportunities related to supporting leadership development for fathers. That will be our primary topic. Um, and yeah, sharing strategies, solutions, and resources to support father leaders and support you all as you work with those dads to develop leadership skills. Our agenda today, we will start with this welcoming and overview. We will have some time for peer networking. That will be more casual peer networking. I have a few slides just to ground our conversation, and then the bulk of the time today will be discussion on our main topic of leadership development. And then we will close around 11. For those of you who aren't familiar, the Colorado Fatherhood Network is a father-focused, statewide, systems-level professional network for practitioners and programs working with fathers and families. The CFN provides connections, resources, education, evaluation, and advocacy to advance the field of fatherhood and family services. So we're really excited you all are here today to join our conversation and learn from each other on how we can better support dads across the state. Just some norms for this peer learning session. Active listening, of course, listening to understand each other as opposed to just listening to respond. Staying engaged, participating actively while sharing the floor with others. We all know, I think, if we tend to be more of person talking a lot or somebody who is more slow to engage in the conversation. So being mindful of that. All ideas are valued and participants are encouraged to share, so you might have a different perspective from someone in this group, and please share. That's how we all grow and learn from each other. Always assume good intent from other participants. Your perspective is valued. In virtual participation, if you can and are open to it, love to have cameras on, muting yourself when you're not speaking just to limit background noise. Feel free to unmute or use the chat or reactions to participate. You don't need to raise your hand. This is not a formal setting. Please feel free to just come off mute and speak when you have something you want to say. So with that, we're going to start with just some very casual networking. So Christian will put you all into breakout rooms of 3 to 4. In those rooms, please introduce yourself, your role, and your organization. And then our discussion topic is what was your favorite summertime activity as a child? You can talk about that. If the conversation leads you in a different direction, that's totally fine too. Just want to take some time to get to know each other. So Christian will put us in breakout rooms, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes. Oh, sorry, Christian. I just see your chat that
I, f
breakout rooms.
I figured it out. So
Okay,
everyone
perfect.
should get a notification.
Thank you.
Are you all seeing a pop-up on your screen to say join out breakout rooms? Let me try one more time. Are you guys seeing it now? New. Yeah, Alexa, I think there just might be a glitch with having to enable that setting.
Okay. No problem. Thanks for trying to figure that out. We can just talk in this group. I'll stop sharing for a moment. Does anyone want to share a quick introduction and your favorite summertime activity? I can start. So, Alexa Schaefer, Fatherhood Initiative Manager at the Family Resource Center Association. When I was a kid, I loved to go to the pool, of course. Play tennis. Yeah, just play outside. Does anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I can go. My name is Jordan Valencia. I'm a family advocate from the Denver Collaborative Partnership. And my favorite summertime activity growing up was probably doing musical camp. So I would do like different musicals, and it was super fun.
My name's Alex Garcia. I do fatherhood work at Denver County Human Services. And I would say summer things for me were pretty much just camping, getting up in the mountains and spending my time there, fishing, all that stuff.
I'll go next. My name's Annalisa Martinez. I'm the admissions and enrollment manager, but I also oversee family services for Family Star Montessori. And I would agree with Alex that I would be in the mountains, camping, fishing, hiking, any of those things.
My name is Andrea. I'm trying to figure out my technical issues here. So I don't have a camera right now. My favorite thing to do in the summer, when I was little,
Andrea, I think you just cut out. Are you still there?
okay, there I'm back again. My favorite thing in the summer when I was little was to play in the rain when we'd have like big thunderstorms and it would flood our streets. And so we'd catch crawdads and play with the water skippers and just get muddy and messy and have fun.
I can go ahead and go too. I'll put on my sorry. Name is Paul Greer. I'm a fatherhood navigator with Hilltop in Montrose. And my favorite activity in the summer would have had to be riding bicycles, swimming, yeah, fishing, getting outdoors.
My name is Ferrari, like Ferrari, and I am a mental health clinician at Mana Resource Center, and have been working on fatherhood that, trying to get that started on this end, and we'll be getting started. Sorry. It's going to be our first round of having nurturing fathers at our organization, so we're really excited about it. We have around four male facilitators that are dads that will be leading that, but a couple of us as staff got trained in nurturing fatherhood. So we're really, really looking forward to this partnership and learning from you guys. And yeah, just really excited to be here. Thank you for having this space.
I'm Pat Christensen. I'm the father advocate for Kiowa, Baca, and Prowers County, and I'm also the impacts manager for those three counties too.
I'm Kaylee Clemens. I'm one of the Mana Resource Center coaches down in Highlands Ranch. I think my favorite summer activity was just being outside, slip and slides. I don't know if y'all remember the Razor scooters that used to break your ankles, but those were great. Super fun. Those were like my top two, and just riding bikes and just being a wild child. So
Oops, I knew I was forgetting something. We love to do mud cakes. So me and my sister, that was our thing. We would just do lots of mud cakes together and put little sticks for the candles. And yeah, we had a blast.
Amazing. Thank you all. I'm like, oh, I should go outside and play. Sounds so fun. Thanks everyone for sharing. Um, all right. Like I said, I have a few slides to kind of kick us off, and ground our conversation. Um, and these, I've pulled from our convening, at our convening last month. We had a great presentation on father leadership, and some ways to develop fathers as leaders. If you were not able to join, the recording is on our website. So I encourage you to check that out. But here's just kind of some overview, high level, to ground our conversation. So I want to start with why father leadership matters. As professionals, we bring our education, our training, and our experience, but fathers bring something we can never fully replicate, which is their lived experience. The fathers in our programs know what it's like to access services, navigate systems, seek support, and raise children while managing real-life challenges. While these fathers might participate in advisory groups or leadership roles, they help organizations understand what's working, what's not working, and what families actually need. Fathers bring credibility that helps them build trust with other fathers. They also bring their own perspectives, which allows them to see innovative ideas for improving programs. Creating the space for meaningful partnership is our goal when we intentionally support father leadership. Research consistently shows that programs are more responsive and effective when people being served have meaningful input into decisions. The goal isn't simply to hear fathers' voices. The goal is to ensure those voices influence decisions. Ways we can do that include program development by co-designing services and strategies, can include implementation, active roles in delivering and managing programs, evaluation, so assessing impact and identifying areas for improvement, and fathers can engage in decision making, holding power in advisory boards or governance. One of the biggest mistakes organizations make is assuming father leaders will simply emerge on their own. Most father leaders become leaders because someone saw potential in them and encouraged them. For many fathers, leadership starts with a trusted relationship. A staff member may notice that they have good ideas, strong communication skills, a willingness to help others, or valuable experiences to share. The transition often looks something like this. First, fathers participate in services. Then they begin contributing ideas. Next, they take on small leadership opportunities. And over time, they become advisors, ambassadors, peer mentors, or committee members. This means our role is not just service delivery, our role is also leadership development. Sometimes all it takes is one person saying, I think you would be really good at this. Many organizations assume leadership opportunities will naturally attract fathers who are ready, where in reality, most father leaders develop because someone recognized their potential and invested in them. So with that, I want to open up for discussion. So here's some questions. I'm going to put them in the chat and then I'll stop sharing so that we can see each other. But I want to start with where have you seen dads engage in leadership opportunities in your community, in your programs? What types of leadership opportunities, what kind of led to fathers engaging in leadership opportunities in your past experience?
Can I go ahead and go?
Please.
Okay. Let me turn on my camera again. So, I feel like I was really spoiled. I had a participant in this first round, my first class, facilitating that. And he was one of the most engaged people I've ever met. I've known him from before the class, so it was um, kind of fortuitous that he came back in my path. We started talking. He's like, "Hey, I want to do this," because he had a situation where he was a little estranged from his ex-wife, and he has teenage kids, and there's some struggles there. So he just voluntarily showed up. But as far as successes and his engagement and just leadership beyond the NDAP program, is he was super involved in like 5 or 6 community things and always volunteering in a lot of different places. That was just kind of how he had his life set up. So that was pretty neat. And then that was, I guess, an example for all the other guys in the class. It just helped set the tone. And I do think it was a success factor in that NDAP class.
For my program here at Hilltop with Impacts, I help people who have child support orders, and we don't necessarily like have classes here to offer official leadership positions. One of my participants has kind of taken it upon himself to recruit people, not just for Impacts, but for our other services that we have for Hilltop. So he's been homeless often, and he tells people about the services that we offer. He tells people a lot about the Impacts program and what he's gained from it and what it can provide possibly for other people. Um, Often it doesn't work out, unfortunately. They might not make it here, but he's taken it upon himself to do his best to share the word about it and to offer things to people that he thinks that they might be able to benefit from.
This is Alex from Denver. And some of the experiences that we've had really start off really slow by inviting our dads to kind of participate in meetings and have them kind of get to know folks who are involved in specific areas where we need our dads to be. So that would be having them participate in meetings, kind of just show up and listen, get to know who the audience is, and then kind of slowly incorporate them into discussions, presentations, and planning presentations for folks either across the board with our community, internal partners, through child support, through child welfare. And I think one of the biggest things, and I kind of just mentioned this too, is the success in supporting them is talking with them about who their audience is, talking about who they're coming in and talking to, addressing some of the situations, because you may have a dad who had a difficult time with relationships and child welfare and maybe put in front of a huge audience of social workers. And then vice versa, making sure that you're talking with the social workers or the case managers in the audience about what these dads are dealing with, what they're coming in with, and yeah, across the board.
John in Montrose. Um, I just kind of want to piggyback on some of the things Paul said and what Alex was talking about. Well, um, when we had a fatherhood grant back in the day, we were doing a weekly group for the fathers in our program back then. And we would, also do activities for them that they could do with their kids. And so we were always looking for individual fathers who were engaged and who were, always trying to help or, were regular attenders. And in the group, we were also implementing weekly segments of a curriculum as part of that group. It wasn't just group support, it was also an educational component. And so occasionally we would identify someone who, appeared to be have some leadership qualities and, kind of engage them in a discussion about that, and then, try and talk with them about the possibility of them being a leader or a mentor or something to other fathers, and trying to gauge their interest. And then sometimes they would be interested, and we would take another step and ask them if they were interested in leading a weekly group meeting. And, there was a few times that was successful for someone. And some of them became, their own outreach, to members of the community. So I think, there's a potential, that was a potential avenue to identify some who could either use some leadership training or had some leadership ability,
This is Pat Christensen. How in our I've tied in the impacts program into the fatherhood program, recruiting guys through that in helping them, and then obviously if we have mothers, we try to get them involved with our local resource centers with it. But I have some great guys that can constantly go out and recruit. I had two guys that started with me when I took the original nurturing father class when I got the job, and they've still been with me over 5 years. And between those two guys, they probably recruited over 50 guys. They just keep going out there and doing it, and they're still active within the program, and they're constantly getting with me, and plus carrying down their full-time jobs, but they still believe in the program. They teach class every week. One teaches in-depth class with me at the halfway house every week. So it's and we get in community involvement. We've done that since the get-go. With the program here, we always get out in the community, do all the activities, and those dads are constantly recruiting. So it makes my job a lot easier that they're bringing them in the door. I just work with them.
Really great stuff. What leadership skills have y'all found success in supporting dads to develop? So those dads who you are then kind of seeing some leadership skills, have there been any intentional leadership skills that you've kind of supported the development of? Or have there been certain leadership skills that you have had struggles developing in the dads you work with, or that you would love to be able to do more of?
I think some of the leadership skills that we work with our parents on is our fathers of empowerment and validation of their experiences. I think that there can be a lot of biases working with parents, and maybe leaning towards the mom in certain situations, especially in child welfare. So I think that just really validating that experience and empowering them to continue to advocate for themselves.
In my program, one of the biggest pieces that has been a struggle and a success is supporting dads in developing leadership abilities in their own life. So many of the participants come in and they have just been letting circumstances decide what happens. Albeit there are some really, really awful things and challenging things that happen. to the people that I've worked with, and helping them do something as simple like making a call to a therapy service together to get something scheduled, letting them know that, hey, it's okay to do these things, and it's okay for you to lead yourself to do these things to get some mental health resources. Um, Offering the crisis line with them when they're in need has been a big one. Um, and again, it's also been a struggle of people to understand that it's okay to reach out for mental health services. Some people, when it's offered, they say, no thanks, I'm good, I don't need that. I just push it down and that's how it works. Um, but it's really beautiful to see when they say, yeah, I'm going to hang up and I'm going to call 988. Or yes, please do call my therapist with me so that we can schedule an appointment. Um, those are my favorite times when they do accept it and then they're willing to take charge of that in a different way in the future for themselves.
This is John. I would like to see, yeah, good comment there, Paul, about leadership as a function of getting their needs met, which really speaks to Andrea's point. Um, I would like to see a focus on peer coaching. We had developed a local version of that for our fatherhood coaches. This again back in the day. With our first grant back in the day, we were trying to be everything to everyone, and so we were trying to do all these different things. But the peer coaching came out of our realization that not everyone wants to join our fatherhood program, and maybe the ones that do and are engaged, might be an extension if they're prepared, to do peer coaching. And so I'm not sure how much we use that peer coaching lesson plan or whatever. I just came across it last week a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember we were thinking we would try and do this. I think, person to have the person be ready to do peer coaching requires some self-awareness on their part, and requires some ability, to be prepared to do that, and have some ability to communicate. So that might be some of you, I'm sure, are already doing that sort of thing with your participants in a way, or modeling that at the very least for them. I'm not sure if anyone is, I'd be curious if anyone is actually intentionally, actively doing some peer-to-peer mentoring, coaching, or preparation with their participants.
Kind of adding on to that, we at Denver for probably over 15 years had a program called the DPALS, Denver Parent Partner Programming Lending Support, just peer-to-peer programming. These peer coaches would be assigned through dependency neglect cases, and assigned to caseworkers and to families to help support our families. And because of budgets, we just lost that this year. So we can no longer provide that. But that, if funding programs like that, incorporating programs like that into all the work that we do, whether it's child welfare or anything within DHS or any of our community supports, to help kind of guide and lend that additional support, is so beneficial. We unfortunately couldn't do it because of Denver County's situation at this point, but we will definitely look at that in the future. So if there's anybody who's considering a model of that type, please reach out to me. I can get you kind of some information on how to get those programs running. But funding them is a huge thing, and a lot of for many of the years our DPALs were voluntary too, and they were coming in and helping our families. Because they had so much lived experience in dealing with building relationships with caseworkers and understanding the court systems and stuff like that. So getting them involved in those programs is so beneficial because it empowers the families they're working with, empowers them to continue providing hope and services to our families.
This is John. Alex, do you think that your agency would be willing to share information about that model of peer-to-peer coaching to this
Yeah.
group or beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. I can put together some of the programming that we did for DPALs, how we ran it, we looking for grants and things like that, but how we assign the whole process, things like that. We had it to the point where we were doing annual background checks on all of our parents who were involved in this. So it was a pretty concrete program that we unfortunately lost. So I would absolutely happily share any of that.
My next question is how can you better support leadership development for dads in your program? So we've touched on this a little bit, but are there things, other things that you all would like to do that would support leadership development, either like grand big projects, kind of like we've been talking about, or maybe just like one-on-one kind of smaller things?
I'll go and speak to this a little bit. We're doing co-parenting sessions as part of the NDAP, and I really feel like just the process of having them engage with a co-parent to not only discuss the possibility of meeting, but then actually getting a co-parent to arrive on site, however that looks, is the kind of one of the first steps of leadership, is taking ownership and engaging in that first step.
For me, I feel like this question is I don't know what I don't know. So at this point, I'd love some ideas about how to better support leadership development for dads in the program that I work with.
On that, I can share out in the follow-up email when I send out the recording. The full set of slides from the convening. Virginia, who presented, went through some different like leadership skills that you can work on with dads that can help. And there was, I think, some really good practical um, things you could do, some of which we've touched on today. Um, like how Alex was saying, like specifically talking with the dads if they're going to be presenting, like who are you presenting to? What is this setting going to look like? Things like that. But I can share that if that would be helpful. But certainly if other folks have other resources, please do share. That does lead me into my last question, which is what resources or supports do you need to support leadership development with dads you work with? So I know kind of that broad, like, totally get that. I don't know what I don't know. Like, what is there out there? But are there specific resources or supports, either that you know are out there or maybe you don't know are out there, would help folks feel like more confident or more able to support dads in leadership development?
I would love to see a motivational interviewing class specifically for people who have lived in poverty and been through trauma. I did see one class available, but it was on a day that I had other things. Um, because the motivational interviewing that I've had for other jobs works to a point, and the motivational I've had with working with NFRC is extremely limited. And I feel like it's super challenging to get motivation out of people who have just been like bogged down by horrible lives, circumstances, and just helping them see that they can take ownership, that yes, the circumstances are there and they can still make adjustments in their life, but they don't have to just allow circumstances to take control. That's been a really big challenging for me. A lot of participants, when I ask, like, hey, what would it mean for you to have employment? Or what would it mean for you to be able to see your kids? Like, they don't even know, like, well, what do you mean? I don't understand. Like, they have a really hard time future thinking. Um, so that's been a big challenge for me.
Absolutely. Is anyone in this room aware of any resources on that?
No, Alexa, this is John. I'm not aware of any resources, um, unless there's something like that in what Alex might share with us. I would be really interested in locating or finding or someone developing, not me, um, obviously, um, an online self, um, an online curriculum of something like that. That if I identify a promising candidate to be a peer coach or peer leader, that someone could just go online to work through and then have discussions with me if they want to for, kind of what they're learning about. Um, but not necessarily me having to um, add in another class or whatever that I'm trying to lead. And so I think that would require, that might be limiting for some folks, or it might take them a while to get to that point where they could do that. And it also might require that they have a certain reading level, that sort of thing, or technology competency level or comfort level. But I think that would be useful, potentially for me if I identify someone who I think could be a peer coach. And I have a couple of people like that in mind, and I've mentioned it to at least one of those folks and said, hey, sometime when your life is a little more, you feel like you got your feet on the ground, if you're interested, I'd love to talk with you more about being a peer coach or maybe a leader for a group support or whatever. So, but if I could send them to some kind of introductory or class that could present concepts to them to consider and work through, and then have that discussion with them, I think that'd be useful. Now, that's a big wish. It's probably harder than I imagine, and it's just something though that I think would help with that for anyone, and that it would be free and online available somewhere. So.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrea, for in the chat. She linked the motivational interviewing that she has or she identified. I think that's the one, Andrea, you said you weren't able to attend, but so check that out. Does anyone know of any resources, classes, something that already exists, on what John was talking about on like kind of helping folks develop as peer coaches?
I'm dumping into the chat it's not letting me put all the information in there. So I'm trying to cut out as much as I can so that it all fits. But DDPHE does a really good training on this. It's not focused kind of on those folks Andrea was speaking about, but more so working with them. But I think that's a conversation I can have with our partners over there about a need for that and see if it's something that they can put together. They're pretty good at creating and producing trainings that kind of fit across the board. So once I cut this down, I will put the information in there with a link for it. And I'll send this to you too, Alexis. You have this.
Perfect. I'll send that and this other link and whatever resources, I'll send them in a follow-up email as well.
Wow, sorry. Alex, for the one that you were talking about, is that through the Denver Strong? Is that
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
okay,
Yes.
gotcha. I guess the other one that I usually share with people that I think is so great, and I think it totally kind of levels the field as far as like mental health is concerned and potentially needing a little bit more like assistance with that or support around that that may not be potentially addressed by a peer coach. Maybe it could be finding a therapist if they feel comfortable or if they're willing to take that step, of course. But mentherapy.org is a great website, and I have sent individuals to that resource because I do think that it like kind of again like just gives it a little bit more of like a lighter version to mental health. And it is such a significant crisis within the state, as you guys know. And so just, I think from this perspective, I think trying to figure out like, okay, when does it require a little bit more of a therapeutic approach potentially? And how do we start that conversation of mental health from a perspective of like, hey, like this is something that we can all talk about, et cetera, which I know we all do, but this website specifically kind of, if you look at it, you'll understand. But like literally you open it up and it says gentle mental health 101, right? Like, and damn near everything a man needs to know about mental health. So like really like leveling out the field when it comes to mental health and introducing it to men.
Great resources, lots of good ideas. We'll just open it up, I guess, at this point for any other like questions you want to ask the group, or anything else you want to share on this topic broadly. All right. Well, if there isn't anything else, then I will close us out. Thank you all so much for the great conversation. I'm excited about all the resources shared. And like I said, I will, in my follow-up email, include as many of these as I can. And if you think of some, or if you mention some that I didn't capture the link for, please respond to that email, send it to me, and I'll make sure it gets out to everybody. John, go ahead.
And to Kaylee, your question about Medicaid billing, that is very intriguing to me. So if you get an answer, I'd love to hear what you find out. I have never heard of that before, but funding is always an issue. So are you doing that for Nurturing Fathers classes, or trying to do that for Nurturing Fathers classes, or a different NFP?
We're trying to do it for the Nurturing Fathers program. So Marari and myself are trying to actively get that established, and just the protocols around that. So I didn't know if anyone had already had experience, especially with those classes and having that established, but we would love to get some more information. So yeah, John, though, if we figure that out, or if we get are able to partner with some other organization to get more information, we can certainly share that.
Yeah, so at this point, what we've kind of gathered as far as information is concerned, as far as the code that we could be utilizing, it literally says on like the state behavioral code to use in regards to Medicaid, the H0025, which is the behavioral health prevention education service, and it lists nurturing parent program as an example on there. And so my assumption as of right now, we need to be reaching out to Colorado Access as well to try to follow up, as Kaylee knows. But yeah, just would love some guidance. I echo that. If anybody has already done it, or Alexa, if you know of any other organizations, would love kind of to point us in the direction that we need to go.
I haven't heard of anyone, but I will. Have you all checked in with Ken Sanders? I can reach out to him and see. He teaches a lot of the facilitator trainings for nurturing fathers, and he might know if somebody has done that. And if we do, if you all find it, figure out a way to do it, or if I hear anything, also would love to share that with this group. I think a lot of folks would be interested in that. All right. For our evaluation purposes internally, would love if you all could fill out this survey. Christian will put the link in the chat, and then you can either use that or you can scan the QR code on the screen to fill it out. Short survey just to let us know what you thought of this call and what you would like to see in future calls. Always want to keep adjusting these calls to make them more useful and relevant to you all. So please, any and all feedback is much appreciated. And then some wrap up items. I want to share that we do have our next webinar scheduled. The formal announcement will be coming out soon, but the registration is in the chat. If you want to register, you're getting the first sneak peek on that. But the topic on that call will be using data to inform practice in fatherhood programs. That will be August 24th, which is a Monday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. So please register and join us for that. And then if you're not already signed up for our e-newsletter, highly recommend you sign up. The sign up is on our website. And that's how you'll find out about future calls and resources and all of that. So please do sign up. And then if you are aware of anything going on that would be useful to the folks in the network, any articles you find that are really helpful for dads or for the folks working with dads or events or anything like that, please do share those with me. I always like to be able to share those out in the newsletter. So with that, I really appreciate you all joining in the conversation. Always great to hear from everybody. And yeah, we'll be in touch over email. But thanks everyone, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Bye everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Nice to meet you.
See you guys.
Bye.